All right, guys, you saw the poll question. Richard Skinner from Local12.com is here. So is the former Bengal Doug Pelfrey. Of the remaining 3 undefeated teams, the Bengals, of course, being one of them, which will fall last? Who's carrying this thing to the deepest part of the season, Doug?
You know, I want to say New England just because they've got the history and they've got kind of, they got the quarterback, they got the coach that everybody knows are kind of the elite. But I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I think Skinny will probably go with maybe the Patriots just because that's probably the smart thing to say. But I'll say the ignorant thing and I'll say the Bengals.
All right.
Well, the one thing about the Bengals is, they've got the Texans and then they've got the game in Arizona.
Right.
You get through the Arizona game, though, then you've got a chance. You got St. Louis at home. You've got Pittsburgh still at home, and you still got Cleveland on the road, in which you think you can beat Cleveland over the next 3. I mean, there's a chance there, but yeah, I'm going to go with the smart answer. I'm going New England.
You'll think I'm crazy here, but that Rams game to me is tricky.
That's the scariest of them all.
That's
it really
a tricky
is.
game.
I mean, it is because if you go out to Arizona and get to 10-0 with that win, human nature says at some point you will have a letdown. At some point that's going to happen. And the Rams would probably be the best team they would play coming off of a big win. They went to Baltimore and won and came back and played Kansas City, and that wasn't so good. They went and beat Seattle here on that comeback and then went and played at Buffalo. So that would be the hardest one to play after a big game.
Don't we play St. Louis here, though, right?
Yes, correct.
So if we play them here, I still like our chances on that. Arizona's going to be a tough game.
I wouldn't bet on the Bengals to lose to the Rams. I just think it's tricky.
It is very. I think that's legit.
All right, let's talk about this first half of the season. On Thursday night, the Bengals cap off the 8-0 record. They didn't play dynamic football on Thursday night, but on a short week to play mistake-free football, Doug Pelfrey, that's very impressive because this turnaround from Sunday to Thursday, it's not easy. It's not easy on bodies, and it's not easy to put the perfect game plan together.
It's tricky, but to me, I think what helped us a ton is the fact that we had, we had pretty much our full crew other than Andre. They struggled having Joe Hayden not being there to cover AJ. I think they had 2 or 3 other guys that they really count on, and I think that helped us. At the same time, they're little receivers. I don't think, they didn't give us much problem. I think Johnny did a nice job of kind of, extending some plays a few times, but for the most part, I think we dominated pretty much from the beginning to the end.
Richard Skinner, $150 on the ground for the Bengals on Thursday night. Now, 25 of that to Mohamed Sanu on the reverse.
On the reverse, yeah.
But still, okay, so 125 on the ground. This is what we've been waiting for, and as the weather begins to deteriorate, at some point we believe it will, this is what the Bengals have to do.
Yeah, they still haven't done it consistently enough, and Jeremy Hill still hasn't done it consistently enough. I do think they'll get a little bit more under center. I think you'll get a little bit more eye formation. I think when that happens, Jeremy Hill's a better runner. He's a better runner out of the eye. Gio Bernard has played very, very well, and the combination of the two, it's funny, you look at him in individual circumstances, it's not dynamic, but you're right, when you compare all the running game, you give me 150 yards a game in this league, you take it every week.
Absolutely, and it sets up the passing game, the play action, Tyler Eifert, the whole deal.
I think Gio looks a lot more comfortable in his role, whereas I think Jeremy's trying to force things. To me, it looks like Jeremy Hill is trying too much to be the star running back.
Trying to hit the home run.
Right, and I think Gio's got a better feel for the game.
You know what Gio looks like to me? He looks like somebody who is angry that his role decreased last season.
He runs angry. That's a great point. He runs angry.
He didn't know how to deal with it maybe last year. This year, he's found the perfect way of dealing with it.
Yeah, and running angry. And every time he has been in the game, he has run harder. And again, I go back to, I think Jeremy Hill is way, way better in the eye than he is running from a standstill position out of the shotgun. I think Gio's a little bit better at that. But that being said, whenever you watch the two and you put them, if you put tape side by side, you say which one is running harder, there's no question Gio Bernard runs harder right now.
I think Jeremy's also trying to make sure he secures that football more than anything else. That's in his head a little bit as well. All right, let's talk about the good stuff. Vontaze Burfict returns. I guess a minor hyperextension of the knee on Thursday night because he came back into the football game, but there were some sideline incidents apparently with Geno Atkins. What's going on with Vontaze?
Honestly, he's just a nut. I hate to say, he really truly is. He's a great football player. He's a smart football player.
Very high IQ.
But he's a very loose cannon. He is the one wild card that's a wild card that could be a good wild card or a bad wild card, because you're right, there were some incidents. There was apparently an incident in the locker room as well, in which a couple of players had to calm him down in there. There was the incident the first week where he celebrated with the Le'Veon Bell tackle. We could argue all of that stuff, whether that was right or wrong, but that was one thing. Then the incident with the cameraman as well, where he shoved the camera and hurt the cameraman. The first 2 games back have been good on the field, but they've been bad from the distraction part. Because the great thing about the first 6 weeks were this was a smooth ship, man. There were no issues. He's a great football player. He's just a wild card that could really disrupt things.
Doug, we talk about Tyler Eifert, how this is it's his 3rd season, but technically it's his 2nd because he lost 15 and a half games last season with the elbow dislocation and subsequent surgery. Have you seen a player like this in a Bengal uniform, what he's done so far with the tight end position?
Not in a Bengal uniform. I think I heard somebody say, compare him to a Gronkowski. I think he's almost like a mini Gronkowski because he plays such a great role. I think the rollout when Andy just kind of pitched it up to him, I thought that was a great example of what he brings to this team. Is it gives him confidence of a big, strong receiver who can jump up and catch a ball when it's in traffic and when you need it. And I think he had 3 touchdowns the other night. I mean, just a solid player. I think the fact of even though he didn't play that full year, just being in the locker room, getting used to being a pro, the fact that he didn't get into a lot of off-field trouble just shows that he's got a very professional, workmanlike workmanship, and I think that's what you need out of these guys is to be pros, and I think that's what he's doing.
All right, very quickly, the Bengals are headed for 13-3 unless the thing comes completely unglued.
Right.
Give me one thing, Doug Pelfrey, to look for very quickly over the second half. What's one thing that we should absolutely expect to see?
I think you should expect the team to continue to look for balance and start gravitating towards more running the ball, especially as we get to the cold weather. The thing that concerns me of anything at all is I think the tackling. I still think we don't tackle well in space.
Richard Skinner, Local12.com. Read his stuff there daily. Doug Pelfrey, the former Bengal. He joins us weekly.